Hey, Reef Builders, welcome to episode number 74 of the Reef Therapy Podcast. My name is Remy. I'm joined by Raj and Mark. Today we're going to go through some reef therapy of our own. We're going to go through our own tank stuff. We're going to talk about a Paletta article on the Reef Builders page and so much more. We'll go through some comments if we've got time at the end. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me on another Reef Therapy Podcast. What are we drinking tonight, Raj?
Ooh, I changed it up a little bit. I have glass. Ooh. Got an Italian Peroni.
Nice.
Yeah.
Raj, you...
I always have those when I go to Maggiano's.
I just remember this beer from when I went in college, and it's like their piss beer there. But you know, we're college, and we're like, oh, we're gonna have the good Italian stuff, and we were crushing this Peroni there, and all the Italians were drinking Budweiser. Like that was the cool import.
That's fine.
But Euro Budweiser is pretty good. It's I think it's different, right? Isn't it slightly different? I don't know.
No, they're owned by InBev, so that would make sense that there would be some brew houses or some breweries over on that side of the pond as well. So I don't know much about that.
I'm probably talking out of my butt here, and somebody's going to call me out.
I have been to the brewery here several million times, yes. But I don't recall that part of the tour. What do you got there, Mark? What are you drinking?
Raj always shows up with these interesting different beers. Like he's doing a tour. I'm still with the Heineken, so
yeah,
boring. But I did have Sweetwater after my run today at my local establishment. So
nice.
Do you want to bring up this picture, which I did send to Mark while we were in Ohio, but that is Raj with the sweet baby Jesus in hand. We didn't end up getting that.
Oh, no?
Because it's like peanut butter something, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Chocolate peanut butter porter. We were already drinking some weird stuff with Theron.
We did. We were pretty loaded up with beer, and I'm like, we're not going to touch it. We didn't get through all the beer that we had, so
yeah.
Yep, I still have to grab it
I don't think
here.
we got through one bottle. Yeah, it was like Dragon's Teat or something. I don't know what it was.
You were describing
I'm drinking
that. It was
a nameless beer. So
it's generic beer. It just says beer. Acme beer.
I can't give credit to anybody or I'll get called out in the comment section. That's owned by BlackRock. I don't know. Mark, what's going on in anything you want to get off your chest? Anything you want to bring to therapy today?
Nothing real therapeutic. I'm pretty boring. So 2 angelfish passed away. Still don't know why. Everybody else is doing great. So now I'm thinking like, oh, well, let's take those trackies and stuff that would have been risky moving up to the big tank. But the holdup there is I have 2 large clams, one Duresa and one Squamosa, and they're both pretty big, and they move around. So they're always just, opening, closing here and there, and, they sort of scoot around, right? And so I can't put any corals on the sand bed because they're big clams. They just sort of, crush them against the rocks and stuff. So now I'm sitting there going, well, maybe I need to get rid of one of them so that I have a little more room in my substrate to bring some. Because it's really weird how my favorite corals and arguably the prettiest corals are in my crappiest tank. And it's like a PetSmart or Petco dollar deal tank with, it works great. I have a Tunzi skimmer magnet, attached inside in the corner, and that's it, and a couple of Kessels. But it's in the unfinished basement on like a 2x4 shelf. It's just like the overflow tank. But ironically, it has all like my choice corals. So I thought I should really move those up where people can see them. So that's what I'm sort of rummaging through my brain. But then the other side of me is like, or I could just get another angelfish of some sort and run the gauntlet and see what it eats. But that's about it. I disconnected this outside airline when all the smoky fire stuff was hitting Georgia. What else? I'm pretty boring, man. I don't buy things.
Somebody commented on that. Did you catch that comment? Somebody who actually lives in Canada. They said that dropped their pH, but that was pretty much it. And they said it went from like 8.2 to like maybe 7.7. I'm just speaking off the cuff right now, but other than that, there was no effect on the tank. But I would imagine a swing that much, I guess it's not too bad, but I guess if that was like something that consistently was happening, maybe that wouldn't be ideal.
Yeah, it was interesting.
But that was the only thing he said.
Rapping with Reef Bum interviewed Craig Bingman, who's a brilliant chemist guy, and I think it was Jason Langer brought up the pH drop that he experienced as well, and I don't think there was like an explainable correlation, but then hearing another person make the same comment was interesting, So, because
well, we're about to get a new one now with the sand from the Sahara.
What?
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
That's blowing over. It did it a few years ago, and it's doing it again now. So we're going to get a nice little sandstorm from Africa. You guys not seen this?
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to get all climate changey and all that. I don't want to get into that. But I mean, is it just like, is the world just going nuts with weather right now? I mean, downtown Vermont's like completely flooded. I mean, that's terrible. Anyway, it's just weird weather, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Saharan dust cloud in Florida will leave you tasting the sands of Africa.
Ooh. That kind of sounds nice.
Followed by the rains in Africa.
Are we about to sing a Toto song?
We have to hold hands first.
Oh, we're laughing now. It's going to cover everything for a week.
It is.
I know when this comes out, it won't be funny because people will be, like paint stripped off of cars and stuff, and they'll be like, "Ha ha ha, guys."
Yeah. Anything else, Mark?
Nah, I'm
okay. We go to Raj.
I started getting excited about fish. Well,
Ooh.
First was coral. I mean, we were at Dan's place for a good bit, and you can't help but start getting excited about all the different corals and the colors and the movement, all the gonnies. It was just so cool. So that started it. But then I got back into fish, and now it's, the upgrade issue has popped up already because I want to do multiple tanks. I want a clam tank, and I want the fish only tank, and I want my reef tank, and yeah. But I'm excited about fish.
What specific fish? Did you have a specific fish that you saw there while we were at Tidal Gardens, or?
Well, my favorite fish is the copper band butterfly. It's a basic fish, but I just love that thing, and it just seeing it swim around there in the other tanks. It I don't know, just got me excited. So it doesn't have to be anything special. That's always been my fish, and no matter how many fishes I see or how many different aquariums I work on or go to the different aquariums, that's just my fish. I love that thing.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on the Muelleri butterfly? Which is like,
yeah.
See, that's a very polarizing fish, right? I think Jake hated them. He's like, they're ugly.
Yes, they're ugly. They look like they've been dropped. Like that was the one that was dropped as a baby and didn't quite turn out right.
I saw one for sale online, and I think it was like $500. And
yeah,
they're hardier, from what I gather, than copper bands. They take to captivity better, but yeah, they're like
they have to be
brown.
when they're that ugly.
They can't just rely on their looks alone, right?
That's right. They can't skate by.
There was one tank that we saw after we were done with Tidal Gardens, Jeff's tank, which you'll see in a future video, but he had a Moorish idol in his reef tank. And it was so cool. You get that big long streamer on the top, and both Raj, you and him had commiserated about that streamer getting stuck in an MP40 every once in a while and then growing back, which apparently had just happened about 2 weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh, it'll be back before they get here, so it'll be good." But yeah, seeing a Moorish idol was really cool because I feel like you see him every once in a while in the fish store, and you're like, is that you really want? I mean, I know it says it's reef safe with caution, or he's like, yeah, he'll eat coral for sure. So,
Yeah.
but he feeds also like several times a day to keep him satiated, but that doesn't always work.
Yeah, that's the only way that I had my trio, is I would feed so heavily, and even then they would take out a coral here and there, but it was worth it. I mean, whenever I see the caution, all I read is, so you're telling me there's a chance. It's worth the risk.
If you're not into
Take that
collecting $500 frag corals, if you're just keeping $30, $60 frags and growing them out, yeah, I mean, get that angel, and it's going to eat something, and it's not going to eat something else. And there was a guy who had like a north of 200-gallon tank with all of these Pomacanthus angels, and the backdrop was just a bunch of leathers, leathers and certain mushrooms that they just wouldn't eat. And it was beautiful. I mean, it was just overgrown softy tank with these badass, Emperor, had a Chrysalis angel. It was awesome. Like, that's my kind of tank.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Raj, you got anything else?
Yeah, that's it right now. You?
There were some cabinet comments.
Oh, yeah.
There were some comments that people had about a cabinet maker, or was there one near you? Is that what I saw?
Yeah.
There's one guy that would
I'm psyched about that
work
one.
for frags. He
That's
said.
even better.
Show us your frags, Raj.
Shit it.
did you get anything, or did either of you get anything from Than? Or
No.
No. I'm sure. I mean, there was a couple that I really wanted, but I think I could just hit him up. I'll text him and be like, "Hey, remember that one thing? Remember that one time we did a whole video series on your place?"
That's right.
He did, and I know that, I know you guys aren't huge Zoa guys, but he did have the stratospheres, which I will always take my breath away. And they're not, I don't know, I guess their pattern is appealing, but I think what's more fascinating about them is they're just kind of mysterious. If you cut them, are they going to melt? Is your $1,000 per polyp going to melt? You know what I mean? But I think more and more, and I've talked to a couple guys about this who have them, they're becoming more readily aquacultured, which is really awesome. That'll bring the value down for sure, which will make it cool to, everybody else who doesn't have $800 for a polyp of zoanthid.
I just Googled them. I don't pay attention to Zoas. $719 for one polyp.
Yeah, they're really cool. They really hold that spiral kind of yellowish pattern in the middle, and that purple skirt, that lavender skirt. It's just, I don't know. It's always been a cool zoanthid to me, but I don't know if those were being, if those were being sold for $40, would I still think that? I don't know. I can't.
I'd love to see a big colony.
But he
of
did.
them.
Yeah. Apparently, what I've heard is that Indonesia has tons of them, and they're just kind of withholding those to keep the value up in the U.S.
I mean, if you see the coral and fish trade, I mean, these guys are getting a nickel for collecting this stuff, and most of them, they just want to get that stuff out. I mean, that's the divers. I mean, the operations there know that some of this stuff has more value than the rest, but I can't see them stashing it, risking.
You don't think they're looking
die.
at the U.S. market?
They're looking at the
they're
market
all over the U.S. market.
I don't know. I just don't buy it.
But yeah, those were cool. He had a couple endophilia that I really, really liked, and I'm in this new tank. I'm really want to make one of those on the sand bed, like right there, right in the middle. Just a really cool purple, pink, deep colored endophilia right there. But yeah, Than's was great. And yeah, definitely got me more inspired to and excited for this next tank. So just talking to him, just being in reefing mode for 48 hours was a lot of fun. And the fact that we got gelato was even better. I'm still
that
talking
was rad.
about that. I don't even care. Mark, he made us gelato.
How?
Fresh.
With a gelato maker.
And we had gelato for breakfast.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
All I remember,
had zero regrets. I'm like, this is great.
We went to CVS, and he's like, I just need to get some half and half. And next thing you know, he's whipping up like strawberry gelato, and it was like the best gelato I've ever had. But yeah, anyways, I've talked about that numerous times now.
Sounds like a Charlie Murphy story on like Chappelle, where he like goes plays basketball at Prince's house, and then he's like, and then afterwards he made us waffles or pancakes or something. Like, it just sounds like one of those crazy stories, you know, where you're like, what?
Than is the
it was like it was
it
was a random stop, and he's like, I just need to get, like Remy said, I just need to get some half and half, and then he comes, he's got multiple half and half, and I'm thinking, wow, this guy likes his half and half. And then gelato.
So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm in a different room of my house. This is my dining room, and the reason I'm here is because everything is a disaster downstairs, and I didn't want to smell coral the entire time, because I've got the frag tank is all the way empty. So it's just that little bit of water down at the bottom. That's kind of, I need to scoop up all the debris and all the detritus and stuff from remnants of snails and hermit crabs and things like that. The sump still has some water in it, but we're making some headway. I went ahead and I actually used Jake's video for his stock tank when they moved that big giant cube. And I've replicated that for the most part and have moved all of the livestock from the frag tank over into that stock tank. So there's nothing other than some macroalgae and things in the frag tank right now, but that's all coming down here in the next day. But yeah, it was kind of sad. Like, I'm not gonna lie, sitting there, like, this is, a tank that I've had for the last 5 or 6 years now, and there's a lot of coral memories, if you will. I know that sounds super cheesy, but I think everybody's got their corals that they really love and they want to take care of. And it's funny because I didn't really have a lot that I wanted to keep. There's a ton of Kenya tree in there, like a ton of it proliferated beyond reasoning. I took a lot of it to the local fish store. I also had a lot of Aptasia growing on the macroalgae in the refugium, so I took that to my local fish store because he's got a Bergia grow out. So I also had a Springer damsel in the sump that was kind of in isolation down there. He went back to the LFS, but I kept my 2 clownfish that I've had forever, my spawning pair, a Molly Miller blenny. I don't know why I ever bought that fish, and Tamini Tang, and those guys are all in the stock tank right now. So it's a mess down there. It's pretty crazy. And I walked into the LFS and I was like, gosh, taking down tanks sucks. It's the worst. And he's like, I know, I do it like every day. So it's nothing to people in the industry, but when you've had these tanks for years and then you start breaking it down, you're like, man, there is so much stuff in here, just stuff. So good news on that front. The frag tank is finally moving out of the way. Going to break down that stand and the sump and everything tomorrow, get that all cleaned up, move the Red Sea stand into place. Because I didn't know this, but when you're making the Red Sea stand, it's very IKEA-like. You put that together and you get about halfway, and then you put the tank on. So the doors aren't on. None of that is on yet. So you put the tank on about halfway through the stand build, level everything out, and then you put the doors on and the support and all that kind of stuff. So
because you need the weight of the tank to level the stand and like the 3,000 little feet underneath.
Yes.
I had the same tank. I remember the 625 well.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to leveling the tank because I believe you're right. I think it's like 16 or 20 feet or something like that. And I can tell you my basement is not level.
Is it on carpet or no?
It's going to be on tile.
Oh, that's much better. I had to do it on carpet. And so you have to wait for that carpet pad to compress. So I filled the tank with some tap water a little bit, like halfway, to just add weight. I will give Red Sea credit because the doors, there is like a baseboard to the stand. And when I swapped that tank out, eventually I put a water box in its place and the doors were like flush with the ground. But if you have carpet and the thing sinks into the pad, I couldn't open the doors. So it is like,
that's a rookie mistake.
Yeah. So then I had
Not
to
yours,
build
but there's a reason why cabinets don't go all the way to the floor like that. There's always that kick panel. Yeah.
Yeah, so I messaged them and I was like, what's like, what would you suggest I do? And it was like in that old school episode. They were nice, but they were just like, well, we don't recommend you put the tank on the stand or on carpet. And it's like, well, but a lot of houses have carpet. I think their newer tanks are better in that regard. They have that, but yeah, that was a pain. But correct me if I'm wrong, with the Red Sea, you don't have to put the floor of the stand in yet. So you have access to all those little bolts. All those little,
Yes.
Yeah, so that was good design. I like that.
I think that's another reason why they make you wait, or why they make you wait to finish the stand before you put it on there. I was looking at that today and I was like, oh, I can access every single one of those feet right now, so that makes sense. So once we get it into the spot, then I can start adjusting everything. Because I thought about that. I was like, if we put the floor on this thing, how in the world am I going to get to those middle feet? Am I going to do like a long wrench, or how does that work? But yeah, so everything should be accessible. But I'm excited. It's going to be awesome to have a large tank. And I was talking to my wife, and I was like, we can get all the fish that most of the fish that you wanted, and I can get the fish that will take care of all the nuisance algae. So that'll be fantastic.
The tang crew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tangs, fox phase, all that kind of stuff. So that's going on. I feel like there was something else that was going on in my world, but yeah, I think the Red Sea build is probably taking most of my time these days. So
Good problem to have.
yeah,
It's good.
it is a good problem to have. It is a good problem to have. I don't know what I'm going to do with the coral in the stock tank. Maybe you guys can help me with that, because I mean all that coral is tainted in some way for the most part. Even if I remove it from the plug or whatever, if I put that into the next tank, it's got whatever, bristleworms or flatworms or whatever was in that tank before. And I know that's all going to come anyway, eventually. Like it's really hard to prevent pests from coming into your tank if you're going to put any coral in there. But
yeah, but if you know if you know it's infected, you shouldn't put it in that new home, right?
Yeah. Just some of it's growing so well. Like I have a couple toads that I really, really like, and I would love to go in that new tank, but I don't know, most of that's like fleshy, and there's probably not a whole lot of parasites, if any, on there. You can see them, but I don't know. Why chance
Scrub it
at this point? Yeah.
Yeah, if it's like leather corals,
backyard.
just dip them and clean them and
Take
cut
a
the base
toothbrush.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things are so resilient. You could probably scrub the hell out of it with like a brush, and it will be pissed for about a month and then come back,
I've been shedding for a month. Yeah. Or, I can throw it in the backyard like Mark does.
Yeah, have a little coral compost pile.
I could just see like a raccoon or something coming up to that. Like, what is this?
I wonder about that, because I got squirrels that eat the mushrooms that are growing in my backyard because we've had so much rain. And I'm like, some of those are like, I don't know. I don't know my mushrooms, but I know some of those are probably either going to make you trip or kill you, with ergotism or something. And they're just eating the hell out of them. I'm like, I wonder if they like had some leather coral frags out there. They'd just be like, yep, let's do it. So what do you think is the smelliest coral when it's above, out of water? I would vote Xenia and the green slimer are pretty
Xenia.
nasty.
Yeah. Any SPS just has a gross smell. I hate that smell.
Monopora. Yeah, or any acro, really.
Yeah.
I feel like any hard coral that's like, you take the water level down and you can instantly smell. That's kind of what the basement smells like right now.
Or you've got corals that are RTNing or STNing, and you're doing that whole taking the colony out to hack up and save it. It's just the smell.
Dinos are
giving
bad.
me-
I know that's not a coral, but
giving me
dino
flashbacks.
flagellates, dude, it's like your tank smells awful when you have them.
Stanky.
Yeah.
Stanky. Raj, I get the storm this time.
Yeah.
There's a storm going on right now.
Nice.
Can't take out my tree anymore because my tree's gone.
Hey, at least you've got the generator now. You're prepared.
Yeah, they actually just took the entire tree off of my front lawn today, which is fantastic.
Nice.
A week later, the grass is all dead underneath it. It's fantastic. So, let's get into this topic. Mark, you had actually brought this up. You wanted to talk about the Paletta article that's on reefbuilders.com. The title is the hobby less fun than it used to be? Go figure. Mark is the one to bring this up. Gloomy Mark. Dark Mark.
The timing of it for me personally was good just because, I've been a little bit, I admit I've been a little bit burned out on reef keeping and less excited about it. And I've been trying to figure out why, like what's going on. Is it just summer and I want to be outside? But the article had some really good points, and I thought it was interesting timing. But then he brought up that a lot of people that he's known for the hobby for a while have felt that way. And then I thought about a lot of people that I've known for a long time in the hobby myself, and a lot of them feel that way too. So I thought it was a good article, and I just threw it out there like, hey, you guys want to talk about this, or we can talk about Sanjay's that dropped today, or we could do that on a different day. Let the heat die down on that one a little bit.
Yeah. Let's dig into this a little bit, because I read through this, and the one thing, there's a lot of things that stuck out to me, but I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was something that we had touched on a couple weeks ago, which was having good reefing friends. And he brings up the point of clubs and societies and how there's been a downturn in attendance, and we've seen that here in St. Louis. Our Slash club is kind of, they meet on Thursdays once every whenever anybody can get together, and it's just a pizza night at somebody's house. And I can never go because if you have a family and children or a job you have to go to the next day, it's like showing up at a house on Thursday nights. And I'm sure those guys do have all of those things and have worked them out, but I just can never make it work. And it always felt fun when I first got into the hobby to have those guys and to have those frag swaps and those things to kind of bounce questions off of. And it just seems like nobody wants the burden of taking that on anymore. I know, Raj, you actually headed up the one of the groups in Atlanta. It's a lot of work. Oh. You think it's nothing. You think it's just like a little volunteer thing, and then you get into it and you're like, gosh, this is a lot of stuff. So I guess I get it to an extent.
It's a ton of work, and it's just like any other volunteer organization or volunteer gig. You get a lot of crap for it. I mean, obviously, everybody that likes what you're doing, they're your biggest fan for now. But there's always somebody that doesn't like the direction, or doesn't like the way you did this or said this, or wishes the location was different, right? Because everybody wants something that's just close to them. It's a very much a thankless job. So there's a lot of burnout on these boards for the local reef clubs. I mean, you see it with everything. I mean, just look at what happened to Masna, and Macna. There was just a lot of burnout, because even when you have a great show, you're going to have somebody that is complaining. Somebody finds something that they didn't like, and they're going to take issue with it, and they're going to yell at you as if though you're an employee and this is your job that you're being paid to do. I mean, you have a job, you have a family, and then you're doing this for nothing, just for the love of the hobby, and you got a guy yelling at you. It's tough to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've kind of relinquished our frag swaps to another organization called Reefing USA, and they kind of go around. Bill is the one that runs that. He's got eye candy corals in Wisconsin, and he takes the show around, to numerous cities, and they're usually smaller frag swaps. They're not like Reef Paloozas or Aquashellas or anything like that, but it's like, you get 15, 20 vendors in a room, you go around, you buy some frags, it's local, it's great, and our club just kind of facilitates it, or gives them the space to do it in, and makes some roast beef sandwiches or whatever on the side, so that everybody's all the vendors are taken care of. But yeah, I kind of miss it, and that sense of like community has dissipated. I don't know if that's everybody, because I know that there's some strong, like we've talked about the Indianapolis group. Those guys, it seemed like that was a pretty strong group. We talked to Jeff in Ohio. We went to his tank, and I guess he's the president of their Marine Society there. And he's like, we do regular things. You know, if we have a speaker, we might have 30, 40 people. If we do like a fragging, like he said that they did a fragging demonstration, and I was like, gosh, that's actually really cool. I would imagine most intermediate to advanced reefers would know what they're doing, but you've got a lot of beginners.
That was our most popular meeting that we did, was the frag demos. Every year we'd do it.
That's cool.
Yeah. What was his? What was that reef club name of his? Is that a cool acronym? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Dang.
I don't. If I remember it, I'll put it in the show notes. But I don't.
I'd love to see what reef clubs are thriving out there. Like, you know, like what meetings are you guys doing, or what events you're doing that has good turnouts?
Yeah.
Because I used to have a lot of fun going to them. So just before I got involved,
Florida has a couple. I forget which ones, but there's a couple that are, you know, they'll have 50, 60 people at an event, and that's good. That's a solid turnout for, you know, something like that. But I don't know. Maybe maybe they were huge back in the day before the Facebooks and before the social medias and all that, where the only way that you could catch up with people is to meet in person and actually do a legit frag swap, not like go there with $100 bill and buy corals kind of frag swap, you know?
Yeah, I think the online community, the in-person community, I think you guys hit the nail on the head on that one, right? On the online side, I think things are different. For me, they're worse. Like I'll put it in the context of, you know, because everything is different for everybody, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but a lot of people talked badly about forums, and, you know, people giving bad advice on forums, and, you know, they're echo chambers, and there's been a lot of, you know, just kind of crapping on forums. The way forums were at one point in time pre-social media were like little groups, like little communities. And I felt that, you know, back in the early Reef Central days, you know, I was a moderator, I was a staff member, I tried to contribute articles.
Me? Son of a bitch.
I did not. No, I never banned anybody. And they were critiqued for being heavy-handed with that. But in the early days of that forum, I felt like a community. Like I knew everybody. You know, I you know, if you went into the SPS sub forum, like it was just like a group of people. You know, and then there were sponsors, but the forum wasn't driven by the sponsorships and the live sales and all of that, right? Like there were banner ads, but they weren't like center stage. And so to me, that was really a nice place to like kill some time sometimes at night and just chat with people. Like, you know, like I remember, you know, like Thurman and Carlos, and like Carlos from Coral View, right? Like all these guys, they were just hobbyists on this board, and we all chatted away. And prior to that, you had Fishnet. And I don't want to say, oh, the good old days, right? But I think social media works differently, right? You've got these algorithms. They look at like which posts generate the most noise. They start to push that. Then there's also the incentive for the people. That thunder, yeah.
Wow.
Are you going to lose power again? It'll just be me and Raj.
I thought somebody took his picture as I see the flash, and then boom.
Woke up the dog.
So, and we've talked a little briefly about this offline about, you know, then when you are working towards that algorithm and producing content, you're going to produce content that gets more likes, gets more views, right? And so I think that inevitably, whether it's the aquarium hobby or anything else, starts to push it in a certain way. And to me, maybe I'm just not tapped into the right places. Like I don't go on Instagram and feel like that sense of online community, or even on the Facebook group. So I do miss that a little bit, because I bailed on the Atlanta Reef Club a little bit early before Raj came and fixed it when I got critiqued for, you know, wanting to go grab a few beers with people after. But I heard, it got better after that. So, I relied heavily on the online piece for many, many years. I tried to create like a little Facebook group at one point with like the hobbyists that I was friends with, and tried to just create like a little chat group. That bombed, that failed miserably. I was like the only one posting anything. So I just said, screw this. And for me, the only other social element was once a year, I would visit family in Denver. And similar to the way you guys felt energized visiting Than, just spending a day with Jake at the studio would sort of reinvigorate me and recharge me for another year of like, yes, like that was cool, So that's sort of missing too. So yeah, I definitely believe community is a big thing, whether it's in person or online.
There's nothing like online though. I mean, you go to a show, you go to a reef stock.
Yeah.
That's just totally different. All the interactions. I mean, even if I'm talking to you guys, but I'm talking to you there, it's so much different.
It is.
It's just way better. The in-person, the human connection. That's the one thing that the internet has kind of ruined a little bit is, sure, it's connected us all from all over the world a little bit better, but it's also prevented people from getting punched in the mouth. And so you get the online bullying, people just hide behind that keyboard, and they ruin it for people. There's so many people. I mean, I was bullied as a kid, so I know the effects that it can have. And I hate seeing that. And I hate seeing that there's going to be certain people that get turned away. Like they go online with something, a minor issue that if you would have gone to your local reef club, you probably would have gotten help, but you go online and you just get bashed.
Yep. I'm glad you brought that up because that's like one of my biggest fears with this tank that I'm setting up right now is like the amount of ridicule that comes with anything you do online.
I told you I would tone that down.
I don't care if it's from you because I know it's a joke. But that there's like 5 or 6 dudes that always pop up on everything and are butt faces the entire time.
That's why I rarely post anything about my tanks online. Is I feel, when I started doing the reef therapy thing with Jake, I was like, crap. Now there's judgment on my reef tank. You could, if it's just your tank at home and you're having some ups and downs with it and you're having fun with it and you're cool, and your buddy, knows what you're going through. But like you post it online and people are like, oh, that's, like there's suddenly this.
Yeah, because it's being compared. Your aquarium in its state right now, it's being compared to everybody else's aquarium online in its absolute best. Because that's what most people post, right? They're going to be a completely clean tank on that one day where everything is open and just the colors are popping right, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm a beast. And you take that picture and you put it online. You rarely take a picture of your tank just on a normal day, or there's a bit of algae over here, or I don't know why that coral's not opening up. You don't get to see the real every day. It's like it's a model picture essentially. Yeah. And that's what you compare yourself to too. Like, if you're looking at all this stuff online, your tank is perfectly fine. It can be great. And if you compare yourself to that impossible standard, it can be, I don't know, it can be a bummer, right? It can be depressing.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah. The title of the article is "The Hobby Less Fun Than It Used to Be." I don't think the hobby is less fun. I think the hobby is awesome.
Yes.
This hobby is so inspirational. It intrigues. It's mysterious. You have to use your problem-solving skills. But it's when you take that stuff online and ask a simple question. This is what turns so many beginners off in this hobby. You want to see some snarky responses? Go to the Bulk Reef Supply Facebook page. Just a guy or a girl asking a simple question about Aptasia what is this? You will get 50 answers from people who know that it's an aptasia, but are telling you 50 different things because they're trying to be funny. Yep. And it's just like, you have to, I think at this point in the hobby, if you're going to go online, you have to kind of expect that to happen. But if you really want true answers, you have to find that person in your community that you can go one-on-one with. I've got a couple of guys like that in St. Louis. If we ever have issues, it's usually not going to a forum and posting about it. It's asking one of them. You know, you get a few opinions instead of like 800, and they're all sarcastic. You know what I mean? It sucks that that's a part of this now.
Yeah.
And that there's always going to be 2 or 3 guys that are just total butt
And
faces.
it sucks that you have to expect it, right? I hate that statement.
Yeah.
That when you go online, you just have to expect that. You have to expect the turd. And I hate that.
Well, but like take Instagram, right? I look at reef tanks on Instagram. There's some really notable kind of high profile Instagram reef aquarists, right? And they're the ones that show up on the feed the most. They create a lot of content. Their content's really well done. Great photography, the music. I mean, they put a lot of work into it. But at some point, you know, I have to ask them, is the hobby the aquarium or is the hobby the content creation, you know? Mm-hmm. And what's driving what you post online? And it can be both. I mean, I get that, but it's just, so it's like you've got people that are really good at doing the YouTube thing and the Instagram thing, and they're putting a lot of stuff out there, and they're doing a great job at it, but they're also looking at it like, I have to create more content. What am I going to do? And then they're just trying to keep their channel going or whatever, right? But it also inadvertently drives the hobby because now that is front and center stage, right? That's the main act. Yeah. That's not the opening act. And so they're not intentionally, I think, directing the hobby in any direction. I think it's unintentional, but it's, you know, the fancy corals, the most colorful, expensive, rare corals, they get the hits, they get the likes. I'm going to put a quick little thing on that online, and then that drives people to want that, and it's just this sort of barreling effect.
Social media can be addictive, you know,
right.
Getting all those likes. You make some reel and it gets, I don't know, 100,000, 1 million views, whatever that is. That's addicting because now you want the next one. You're like, oh yeah, that was cool. That was awesome. Getting all those alerts. And then you want that again. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think the hobby is less fun at all. I think it's probably more fun. It's different though. It's different than when we were younger and doing it. And so it's very different. Yeah. I mean, Mike's been doing it. He's been in the aquariums for 60 years. So he's gone through multiple different generations of this hobby. And This is now a new generation where there is a lot of technology. There's a lot of social media platforms that I'm sure he doesn't use. You know, I can't see Mike sitting there making TikToks and posting those. So it's just a very different dynamic now. And if it's not one that you're used to, it's, I don't know, going to appear less fun. But I think it's...
Well, that's exactly it. It's, I thought about somebody young getting into the hobby. Would they have, and me, I've been in it since the 90s. I think it's less fun, but that's because I've been in the hobby since the 90s. Yeah. But if you wipe my brain, I didn't know anything about corals, reef keeping, anything, and I started fresh, or you take my daughter and she suddenly develops a passion for it, just whatever. Would a person getting new into the hobby and that sense of discovery and learning, would they have less or more fun today than in the past? I think they would have more fun today. I think success rate's much higher. You know, the equipment is way better. There's not a bunch of DIY. There's really great equipment. There's the internet.
Corals.
Yeah, the corals are beautiful.
The number of corals that we have and the different strains and variations and $1,000 polyps. I mean, that we didn't have any of that.
Yeah, it's. I think it would be more fun. I think for me, and this is where, you know, the doom gloom mark and questions, and I've been, you know, doing a little soul searching, is like, I think for me, it's just different because I started a longer time ago. And, I enjoyed the DIY, right? I enjoyed that all the equipment was catered to freshwater and we had to kind of figure it out. I enjoyed the pioneering, but the pioneering came with a price. We lost a lot more corals and fish and people, there were the hardcore guys, but like the guy that just went into the store and wanted a saltwater aquarium was killing fish left and right back in the day. So it wasn't good. It wasn't a good picture to see all this stuff being collected. I enjoyed the live rock. The Paletta part about just weird fish coming in and weird corals and weird stuff showing up on your live rock. What do I replace my Regal Angel with? And you go onto the sites and it's all the same. They all just bring in the same fish now. You don't see like this weird goby or hawkfish anymore. Kevin Cohen used to be great about that in Live Aquarium. Divers Den. You'd just be like, what the hell is that thing? So for me, it's a personal thing. It's just that I need to figure that out. You brought up a fish only tank and a clam tank. The fish I haven't kept are the ones that aren't reef safe. So I was like, I would love to own a clown trigger, like I've never owned a clown triggerfish. That'd be such a cool fish to own.
Right.
So it's maybe I do something different or try doing something like that. I don't know. That's the part that, I think it is fun. I think it is a great time to be in the hobby, but I think if you've been in it 30 years, let me rephrase. The only stuff I haven't kept is either not reef safe or I can't afford it, right? I can't afford a Conspic Angel. But I've kept the other Catodonopus and I'm probably saying that wrong, Pomacanthus angels, and I've kept every pygmy angel, not a peppermint, right? But so it's like, yeah, cool. I bought another yellow tang. I've owned these in the past, So that's the thing is how do you keep it interesting if you've kept a lot of things and you've tried a bunch of different corals and if you're not going for the dopamine hit, right, of that new coral. Eventually your tank, your reef, Red Sea reefer is going to be full of coral one day, and then you're going to be like, I can't buy any more coral, or else I got to get rid of some coral. So then you don't get the dopamine hit of that new frag, or the dopamine of setting up a new tank, right? That's always fun. Is like building where Raj is right now. It's like, oh, what pumps do I use? What lights do I use? That's fun.
That's the best part.
It is. It's awesome.
That's my favorite part.
So maybe I just tear it down and keep building new tanks.
Well, see, if you're worried about you running out of room because your tank is full of coral, you have to have SPS because you're going to walk up to that tank one day and your big SPS corals will be like, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to die right now. And it's just going to start dying.
He also brings up road trips. And Mark, I don't know if this is a big thing, and Raj too. I don't know if this is a huge thing when you guys first got into the hobby, but going to see other tanks, going to see local fish stores, things like that. And it's funny because we were just talking about, because Reef Stock Chattanooga is coming up in September, and we were talking on a call about, your reef club or society or whatever, getting a group of guys and girls together, maybe 20, 30 people, caravanning or renting a big, like one of those, what are they, Sprinter vans or whatever, and, bringing everybody with. And I'm immediately, when I'm thinking about driving from St. Louis, which is a decent drive, it's like 6 hours, hitting every single local fish store I possibly can on the way there just to see what everybody's got. So that's interesting to me, but I'm also probably making content along the way, so I don't know if it's the same kind of drive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that would be fun. I would love that.
Yeah, I think, even my wife's commented that one of her favorite things, even though she's not a hobbyist, she just enjoyed going to random fish stores when we go on vacation. Like you end up in some random town, just like, oh, what's the fish store here like, so hell yeah.
Yeah, you already have something to talk about. Like no matter where you're at, we all kind of generally speak the same language, So I feel like that's one thing that can kind of bind us all, and in the hobby at least. So I don't know. My buddies and I we'll get together every once in a while, and we'll drive a couple hours away and go see a fish store somewhere. But with the internet, it is easier to just shop online. If you're going to shop around for corals, you can, I could buy $200 worth of corals right now at, Top Shelf Aquatics or wherever, and it'll be at my house on Thursday or Friday or whatever.
But buying it from, like going down to Orlando and going to that store, walking into Top Shelf Aquatics and buying the corals, that's a totally different experience.
Yeah. You can really choose the one that you want. And I've done that a couple of times where we'll be at Disney World and we'll have our free day. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to some reef shops. Let's go. And then I'll have them shipped back to me, whenever we're ready. Whenever we get back from vacation, set that up. And every reef shop is going to be cool with that if they ship.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just pick some stuff out. We'll bag it up. We'll send it off whenever you're ready for it. So that's always fun too, and always an option. And going through TSA is also an option and super easy because I'd never done that before. It's actually fun because I don't want to give away too much because it will be in a video, but we were going through TSA and one of the guys was like, what do you got in there? And I was like, I got live coral. They're like, we're going to have to test the water. I was like, okay. And this other guy came up and he's like, yeah, we get, SeaWorld always comes through here and they've got boxes and boxes of coral. So we're pretty used to this. And I was like, okay, so my little tiny, 6 frag holder is nothing to you guys. Because you think it's the biggest deal when you first do it. And they're just so used to it, especially if you're coming out of Orlando because they've seen it. And I imagine most TSAs have probably seen it, or most airport TSAs have seen it. So, but yeah, I don't know if are you still going on road trips, Mark, to go see local fish? Are you coming to Chattanooga? You better be coming to Chattanooga.
Oh, why'd you guys have to do it on Labor Day weekend?
This sounds like he's making excuses already. Holy
I do have beef with your Reef Builders article.
Which one?
We have a lot.
All right, I'm going to tell you right now, my favorite public aquarium is the Tennessee Aquarium in Chattanooga. It's my favorite aquarium in the United States. It is, in my opinion, the best. Now, you gotta be into freshwater stuff too, because their freshwater exhibit is insanely good. I mean, it's like they have every freshwater biotope, and it's just the way you walk through this dark room. It's I don't know. I don't want to talk too long about it and give it all away, but it's just a beautifully executed aquarium. And your Reef Builders article is like Reef Stock Chattanooga, and then it had a thing about attractions, and there was no mention of the aquarium. I'm like, you're having an aquarium show in Chattanooga and you don't mention
we've got something planned with it. Don't worry. All
right, good.
Yeah, I love the way that it's laid out.
Yeah,
I love.
Oh yeah, where you zigzag down that. Yeah. Super cool. And they've built out a whole saltwater thing, like a separate building. I don't know if I've seen that or I have. I don't remember when the last time I was there. They got like those big freshwater rays that are black in these ponds. It's just, it's insanely cool. So, yeah. Have you ever been, Remy?
I've never been.
Man.
And this is coming from you guys. You got the Georgia Aquarium. That's kind of a big deal that you're saying Chattanooga.
I know. I don't want to piss off Steve and them from the Georgia Aquarium, but because I do love the Georgia Aquarium, but it's like going to the Georgia Aquarium is really busy, really intense. It's downtown. Yeah. You've cussed somebody out while you're trying to park. Then there's like 300 baby strollers blocking your access to everything, and it's like going to the mall during Christmas. You come out of it like reptile brain, like, oh man, that was intense. Chattanooga is like this journey. You go through it. Georgia, they dump you in the middle, and they're like, wherever you want to go, just go, and it's just chaos. Whereas at the Chattanooga Aquarium, you go up an escalator, and there's the sound of trickling water, and as you keep going up the escalator, the water gets more and more powerful until it turns like a flowing, rapid river. So it sets the mood. You're like, okay, all right, and then you have to. There's only one way through it. It's like a journey, and I like that. So.
That's how the St. Louis Aquarium is. It's cool. You can't really... Shed is a lot like Georgia, where you just kind of get plopped in there and you get lost and you're kind of self-guiding your tour. And yeah, it can be overwhelming if you've never been there before. But St. Louis is a lot like Chattanooga, from what I'm gathering. Has the soundtrack, has the vibes, that kind of thing. I like that. That's cool. Well, we'll definitely have to stop by when we're
Thom
there for Reef Stock.
at Chattanooga, he was trying to breed the Portuguese man of war.
Oh, wow.
So I'd be really, really curious how he's coming along with that, because that was a super, super difficult goal, and he was tackling it. It's just such a cool project to take on.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And for those who've never been to Chattanooga, it's a cool little town. It's not too big. It's right on the river.
It's awesome.
I mean, I like going up there just for the day. Sometimes it's about a 2-3 hour drive from here, and we've done overnights there. Kids love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you just walk around everywhere. Good restaurants. It's nice.
Great. You have Lookout Mountain just south of there. There's just, which is incredible hikes. You've got the waterfalls. There's so much to do. And then you're right there at the mountains.
Let's not forget Rock City.
Rock City, baby.
It's such a crazy place.
What is Rock City? Is that a bar?
Nope.
No.
That cave, like you go into this cave with crystals, and then you realize that the entire ceiling of the cave is glued with dead coral. And that was before reef tanks. I think they put that together in like the 50s, and you're like, they probably like destroyed a whole reef or something.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Is it like a tourist attraction?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just cool rock formations, and then somebody used to live there, and it was their backyard and garden, so they did some cool landscaping, and now you just kind of walk. Like there's a part where you walk where the rocks are, you can barely, well, most people can barely fit through, right? Because it's super thin. And yeah, it's just one of those, bridges you walk across and stuff. How do you explain Rock City?
You don't.
You
just have to go see Rock City.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
When you
it's one of those
see the big
places
billboards, follow them.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the billboards. We have a place in Missouri called Uranus. And it's this little, I think it's off of 44, one of our main highways through Missouri, and they have a fudge factory, and that is the draw.
Oh, man.
I kid you not. They have stickers that say, like, I ate fudge in Uranus and all of the things. It's such a great play. And it's like, you drive by and it's like a giant carnival has exploded on this hill. And the town is so tiny, but they have this one shopping center. And it's all geared towards Uranus puns. So that's always fun to see.
Great.
Something you don't get if you don't road trip,
That's
right?
I'm gonna try to get up for that one, but it just sucks that it's Labor Day weekend because, Plus, I think Chattanooga is gonna be pretty busy over Labor Day. I mean, a lot of people go there as a destination, right?
It's going to be great.
All right.
It's usually super quiet, so it'll be interesting with. Yeah, anytime I've been to Chattanooga, it's not super busy.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? It's just
compared
such a
to
cool
Atlanta,
place.
it's like so chill. It's like you just can breathe for a second.
That's funny thing when we were in Ohio, we had traffic and it was like 3 cars on the road, and it was just so weird. And people were driving the speed limit, and it was painful.
Raj was still driving like he was in Atlanta, though. And our rental car was a Mustang.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you had the horsepower.
It was one of those. It was one of those. What was it? Would you say we got the dealer's choice or something like that? And we randomly got our pick of a. We were like, well, we might as well take the Mustang. So it was a 4-cylinder. It wasn't like the souped up version or whatever. But it was. Man, there's one thing that I was not looking forward to. It was being in a car with Raj driving, because I've heard stories.
What the
he
hell,
likes
dude?
to pile a lot of people in too. That's his other hobby.
I'm still here.
See,
so
everybody
that's good.
always survives, and they have stories. I mean, driving with me is the best.
Yeah.
If you were
20
riding
people
with
in one
anybody else,
car.
there's no story. It's like, yeah, we went from A to B.
Again, safely. It was kind of sucked.
That's right.
There's another part of his article where he says fewer new fish and corals, which is kind of interesting because I know you had, Raj, you had said that there's so many new corals, and I think, Goniopora or Goniopora is one of those corals that was super difficult to keep.
Right.
And now just going to Than's and Tidal Gardens, they've got like, I don't know, 15, 20 varieties and different colors, and they're all just flourishing and beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, there were lots of corals that you just couldn't get because we couldn't keep them alive. And now, not only can we keep them alive, we've got all these different variants and all these color strains, and I don't get that part. I get that the fish part might be somewhat restricted right now with all of the, like with Hawaii closing down and, some other import bans that are in place right now. But the coral market has exploded. I have never seen this many corals before.
I guess what I would argue there, because I agree with you. I mean, the variety of gonies is insane now. I have 5 different types in my little basement tank. And the one that doesn't grow, like just sits there, is the amaze balls. Of course, it's like, hey, how much am I? Oh, okay, then I'm not going to grow for you.
Just so you know, Than has troubles too, by the way.
So did Jake. And then there's like the one guy that like sells frags, and it's like overgrowing egg crate, and you're like, what are you doing? Can you ship me your water? No,
that is one that I've picked that I need in my tank.
I have 2, and they're doing great. They're just not growing, And the other ones keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I think the variety and strains within certain species has really expanded. I think the variety of species has gone down, and then in the SPS world, we've seen you don't see a lot of new staghorns. You don't see a lot of the big, chunky, like Humulus and Gemniferas or Gemriferas. I can never say that right. Like, remember those? Those were cool. And if I was ever... I talked to Jake about this. If I was ever going to do another acro tank, it'd either be a deep water acro tank, or I'd want just like a reef crest tank with just a crap ton of flow, really bright, not that blue light, like bright white light, and then just do like some real corn on the cob acros and staghorns, and because those I don't, the tenuous and all these little they're not my cup of tea. I love millies, but those are still at least somewhat variety. I just feel like it's what I like what Paletta said about you, just like they'd open the box, and this was when Wild Collection was really the bulk of it. You just be like, what's in here? And sometimes it'd be something weird. And Jake, I don't know how he continued to get weird stuff, because he did. Because the vendors I would shop at, I don't really see anything too weird. But
stores are probably just avoiding ordering the weird because they don't have a demand for it per se.
Yeah.
You don't know if you have a demand for it unless you have it. You can't sell something you don't have. But they know that they're going to sell that amaze balls, so they kind of stick with that. I think it's taking the easy route. I mean, it's tough to gamble with a coral that you're just not sure if somebody's going to buy.
Yeah.
If you've got a local fish store, what I always do is just put a bug in their ear. Yeah. You see this? I'm in. Like if you see this in somebody else's tank or a tank breakdown, or you see this on a list or whatever, you put that bug in many people's ears, which I'm assuming is what Jake did. Like they all knew he was going to take the weird stuff, so if they get that in, Jake's their first call. And he had connections with everybody. So
he had wholesaler connections, so he would, I think call up some of these wholesalers and be like, that right there. He and I were supposed to go to California and tour like the wholesalers at one point, and that obviously never happened, but I bet that would have been fun, because I bet you would see some stuff where you're like, whoa, like something that maybe my local fish store or your favorite online place would never pick that up and sell it. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. We just did that article on speaking of fish, the king eye.
Yeah.
The Poma Labs king eye that was recently bred in captivity. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool. Whitten Rich is just sitting there out of the limelight and working on these fish that nobody knows that he's working on. It's such a cool gig.
Yeah.
It's fun to get those articles pop up because it's such a surprise,
It's the cutest little thing. It's in his hand, and I'm looking at the picture right now, and it's just this little spot on its tail, and it's amazing how much pattern it has, so small. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think the more they keep tinkering with that stuff, the more readily available a lot of those fish are going to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a positive. While some things are shut down, we can't get those fish imported anymore. It's being worked on, so that's cool.
Well, going back to the happiness topic, and that's where I feel like sometimes I'm happier when I do turn off the social media piece and I dive back into books, and I don't want to call it going old school, but it's like I just focus on how amazing these things are. And I was listening when we talked about the legislation changes that were pending in Florida and stuff like that. What was that act called? The Lacey Act?
Yeah.
I was really curious because we talked about the impact to the reptile industry, right? And so I wanted to see, because there's reef therapies that are reptile, or, there's YouTube channels. And I was like, I wonder what these guys are saying about it. And then, of course, the algorithm was like, oh, you like reptiles. Let's keep pumping these videos on your daily feed. But there was one where a guy started talking about getting ripped on. He has a YouTube channel. He's getting ripped on for not portraying enough rare captive reptiles. And like some guy was like, dude, you just keep all the common stuff, red air sliders, and you don't keep the rare strains of ball pythons, because now they're breeding them with these weird patterns and stuff. And, he was kind of pissed about it, and he started talking about it. And he's like, a red air slider is beautiful, And they were arguing like the Jurassic World, where they create the hybrid dinosaur, because like the regular dinosaurs are boring now for people. And I started to think about our hobby is that sometimes you just got to take a step back, because a yellow tang is glorious. It's a beautiful fish, Or I'm trying to think of something. Just the common clownfish is such a cool creature when you look at it and appreciate it. You don't need the designer clown. So I've been trying to do a little bit of that in my own head, while I'm trying to process this burnout, and like, okay, well, what's going on? It's funny that this is called therapy, because I've been trying to really figure out like, why am I kind of right now? And they brought up, if giraffes didn't exist, I'm stealing this from this guy, and we found them in the fossil record, we'd be like, what the hell? Like, how cool is it that there was like this animal with this long neck, and we'd be fascinated by them, and yet they're alive today, and we're just like, yeah, giraffes, whatever, So sometimes it's just about adjusting your own perspective. I don't know. So I've been trying to do that a little bit of like, well, okay, I get a little annoyed by the collectoritis, and the sheer cost of corals, I do think, has gone up. I think the average cost, if you were to average the price of all corals at a coral vendor 20 years ago and today and account for inflation, I think there used to be more affordable corals with some crazy stuff mixed in. Now the crazy stuff is the bulk, and then they're like, oh, we got a few $20 frags over here, and if you click on this button. So I do think things have gone up, and yeah, it's easy for me to get negative and annoyed by that, but I don't have to do that, right? I can just turn the channel off or change the channel in my brain and go, well, I really like the corals that I have, and I don't, so it's some of it's just perception and perspective and what you let get in and seep into your brain and how you react to it. So
yeah, that litho that I bought at the frag swap for that $100 video I did where I bought a bunch of coral for $100 is doing so well, and it's given me so much satisfaction. Right? I don't know why. It's an easy common coral, right? It's a green, but it's growing and growing so fast, and I feel it's just cool. I mean, this whole hobby is cool, and everything about it is cool, and every creature in it is cool except for Kenyan tree. But it's just, I feel like the fish and everything, and I don't want to get doom and gloom in every one of these podcasts, but I think if there's anything to blame, it's social media for just infusing just so much negativity here and there. So if you could just be positive in the comments from now on, that'd be great. Thanks. Okay. Moving on. Speaking of comments, I want to get to some of those before we get out of here. I just had that pulled up. Here we go. I'm with Mark. I also have a Relic Stratocaster and would be terrified buying a fish for the same money. The odds of mysterious fish death are way higher than a guitar, mysteriously disintegrating. Plus, guitars can mostly be repaired if anything goes wrong. If you missed that from the last talk, we talked about the Stratocaster that Mark has in the back of his room there, and how he'd spend $3,000 on that, but maybe not on a fish.
I try not to bring up guitars, and then you brought it up.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry. The commenter brought it up. This is that comment, the smoke comment. Ryland says, for what it's worth, I'm on the east coast of Canada, and we had some major fires with terrible amounts of smoke. My skimmer intake runs outside. Dropped my pH from 8.2 to 7.7. Only change was smoke in the air. I pulled the line off my skimmer and let it run inside, and it went back up.
Interesting.
So seems like pH was the only measurable thing, at the hobbyist level that was going on there.
Well, she'll have to report back with the Saharan sands.
Yeah. Gotta love my sand. This I found the guy that marks our coral talk. His name is iFly65.
We started early on
Coral
this
talk.
one.
The last, I think we'll be okay on this one, but the last one we did with the Dark Mark episode, Coral Talk starts at 19 minutes. Ouch. He says, I luckily merged 2 pairs of clowns and they buddied right up. I have numerous $6,000 guitars and over 40 synthesizers. Wow. It's completely different. It's not good to buy fish that high dollar for many reasons. They die, ego purchase, raising prices in the hobby, things like that. But I do agree. I think a lot of these high-end purchases aren't necessarily because you like it. It's because you want to show your friends. I think there might be some of that in there as well. Like, I got this. I got the Stratosphere. Look, I bought this for $900. It's, one of those.
That's what the reptile reef therapy, I guess, reptile therapy. I don't know. They were doing a similar chat to what we were doing. And they said the same thing in the reptile industry, where they're encountering people that are like, I only keep endangered reptiles, and all this stuff. And they were like, well, why? Like, and they said, is it because you're truly passionate about that animal? Or is it just because there's the flex of it, And so it's not just our hobby, right? It's in guitars, it's in reptiles, it's
just in life in general, right?
Yeah. It's just part of human nature, I think.
Yeah. Someone is requesting Dark Mark merchandise, stickers and T-shirts. I asked you for the digital file earlier of that. We might be in the works and getting some stickers.
I got the digital, but she says she wants royalties.
We're not selling.
No,
it.
that's what I told her. I'm like, I don't think they're for sale. I think that
10% of zero is
nobody.
Zero.
Nobody's gonna know what it even means. Like, they're gonna put it on their tank door, their stand doors or whatever. They keep their sticker collections, and we're like, "What's Dark Mark?"
My wife,
it's the Reef Therapy Podcast.
She just gives me these looks. Like, she just first it's like you're doing a podcast, and then it's like you're on YouTube, and it's like Dark Mark, and then I brought up like, yeah, they want stickers, and like at the dinner table, she's like, what? Like, who are you?
What is the internet?
What's going to be
creating
better
a star
is we make some shirts, and then when she runs into somebody wearing a Dark Mark T-shirt.
Well, so I brought up Chattanooga, and she's like, we're going. We have to witness this aquarium thing. And I was like, no, because she's just going to make fun of me the whole time. But, yeah.
She does that anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sure. So it's just another weekend.
Yeah.
Plus, she'll be in Chattanooga with us.
Yeah, that's true.
See?
Maybe
and then we can pile on with her. This would be fantastic.
Maybe she'll think I'm cool. Like, I get it. Like, you're okay. Yeah, all right.
We'll set up a little booth. You can do autographs. Raj and I can stand on either side of the table with our arms folded like this. Little things in our ear. Ray-Bans.
Could be.
Who is that? We'll put a fake camera in front of you, like a camera guy, following you around like a reality TV show. It'll be great.
Oh, man.
Who is that? Oh, it's Dark Mark, man. He's a realist.
We have to start at
He's
the
the
airport,
gloom,
though.
the doom and gloom of reefing.
I'll bring the doom and gloom of reefing. Dark Mark out. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about tonight? Anything we left out?
I want to see pictures of Raj's tank. When are we going to see?
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it, but I do need to do update shots. I should have done it from the beginning, but I'll catch up. I'll update with some photos.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think an upcoming video will have Red Sea update.
Awesome.
And frag tank breakdown and moving of stuff and, the Tetris game that's going on downstairs currently. So that's all coming up. But if you guys have any questions for any of us, we do a fairly good job at answering those in the comment section. So go ahead and go down there and maybe answer our question today. Is the hobby less fun than it used to be? Trying to stay as positive as possible with that. As we talked about in this podcast. But if you have any questions for us, please let us know in the comment section below. If you're listening to the audio-only version, you can hit us up on any of the Reef Builders social media channels. And until next time, we hope your tanks are great, and we will see you then. Bye, guys.
See ya.